everybody, I'm Bailey and I'm going to be discussing the accessory organs of the GI tract. So I'm going to start, this is my little diagram that I've created. I'm going to start with the diaphragm because it's the first layer of the GI tract. It's covering the GI tract, and it plays an important role because when you breathe in, it increases the abdominal pressure, which helps move these fluids through food and fluids through your digestive tract. And then we have right here the liver, and the liver is in charge of regulating blood clotting, plasma, protein production. It removes toxins from the blood supply in our body, and it produces bile salts as well. And these little ducts right here in gray, they're like transporting and secreting, or transporting the secretions from the liver to the intestines. So those play an important role as well. Your gallbladder right here, which is highlighted in purple, it stores concentrated bile salts. And bile is really just a mixture of cholesterol and bilirubin and bile salts. So and then over here we have the spleen in blue, and that controls our level of white and red blood cells, and it also removes old or damaged blood cells. Then you have the pancreas right here, which is in yellow. It's got the little tail thing, as everyone calls it, and it creates pancreatic enzymes, and this helps break down food as it passes through. They travel through ducts and empty into the small intestines. And typically in one day we create 8 ounces of this enzyme. And then once that goes through the pancreas, it's going to get to the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestines. This is where the stomach juices, like the enzymes from the pancreas and the bile from the gallbladder, are going to break down and digest food and pass it on into the small intestines. So this is my little diagram, and I hope you enjoyed.
Hey everybody, I'm Jayleigh, and I have a diagram and some vocab words for this video. So let's open this puppy up. Probably not going to be able to see my head, but that's okay. So as you can see in the middle, I've got a diagram of the GI tract. You've got the right lobe of the liver, the left lobe. You can see the gallbladder there in green. I've got the right kidney in pink, the bladder down there at the bottom, and the ureter. And then you've got the stomach, and this is actually behind the stomach, the pancreas. But just so that you can see it, you can kind of see the line there where the stomach is, that it sits right there. And then you got your spleen up there on top. Your adrenal gland is going to sit on top of your kidney. And there's a good diagram of the GI tract. Over here on the other side, we've got vocab words. Start at the top. Liver, it removes toxins from blood and maintains some blood levels like sugar and things like that. Your gallbladder stores and releases bile. Your pancreas helps begin the breakdown of carbs, fats, proteins, and acids. Your spleen stores and filters blood. So your pancreas, your food doesn't actually pass through your pancreas, but it secretes things that help begin the breakdown in your duodenum. So spleen stores and filters your blood. Your urinary tract is a filtration system to urine from the kidneys to the urethra. Your kidneys there is a filtration device of your blood. And then your adrenal gland down there at the bottom produces hormones to regulate the body, such as adrenaline and different things like that. If you take a look over here, I've got our mystery word. It's going to be portosystemic anastomosis. So the collateral communication between the portal and the systemic venous system. So this is when there's a block. So this is a good example of how it would work is when there's a blockage in the portal system. The portocaval, which is another way to say our mystery word, anastomosis, allows your blood to still reach the systemic venous circulation. So it allows that blood to still flow to Venus, even when it's blocked in portals. So I'm going to give another good little second for you guys to check that out. And that's what I've got.
Alright, this is Jessie with group 3. So I will start with explaining the terms and their relation to our organs here, our accessory digestive organs. So the common hepatic duct drains bile from the liver. It's comes out through here underneath. You can't really see it, but it connects up here and then drains just bile. And then the hepatic portal vein also connects in that same underneath spot. There's a little opening for it, and the portal vein takes blood, deoxygenated blood, from the digestive system to the liver to be processed, detoxed, digested, filtered, whatever needs to happen to it to get the nutrients and such from it. And then for the pancreas is under here. It's that little shape organ right here. The pancreas I have for, first I'll explain type 1 diabetes. That's the illness where your pancreas does not make enough insulin. So insulin basically helps take blood sugar and use it. So insulin is what helps it get into your cells to be used for the energy. And if you don't have enough of it, you won't be able to process all the blood sugar that we naturally have from just eating regular food. That's why type 1 diabetics have to watch what they eat, or they could end up in coma, or just having too much blood sugar is also very bad for you. Amylase is also secreted by the pancreas as well as the mouth. And this is what actually takes starches and glycogen and turns them into simple sugars. So this is what basically turns these more complicated sugars into the simple sugars that go through your bloodstream and then are processed by the insulin. For the spleen, we have the superior mesocentric artery. Your spleen is right here, this little guy. And the mesocentric artery is just a very big artery that runs from the aorta down. It is the second major branch of the abdominal aorta, and it supplies the spleen and the liver. Then we have, for the urinary tract, we have your urethra. I don't have it pulled up here, but of course it's the tube that runs down from your kidneys and your ureters from your kidneys to your bladder, and then it turns into just the urethra. And it's the single tube that is responsible for draining your bladder and removing waste, removing the waste from the kidneys. Then we have the kidneys. Wouldn't let me pull up the kidneys, strangely enough, but I can pull up the little blood vessels here. This is where your kidneys would be. One is lower than the other. This one is lower because of the massive liver. So the kidneys I have for renal medulla. It's the inner part of the kidneys that contains all the ducts and the specialized areas of the organ that are responsible for filtering blood. And then it goes out through the renal vein that just drains the kidneys. The filtered blood then goes back through the bloodstream, just like any other organ, and it would be oxygenated again, except it's freshly filtered from the kidneys. The adrenal gland sits on top of the kidneys. What it's responsible for is controlling the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine. This controls, of course, our fight or flight response. Epinephrine is just otherwise known as adrenaline, and this is the hormone that causes that, vasodilation and all that gets our body ready to move and supplies that extra little boost of energy that we get. Our mystery term is portal systemic amaurosis. This is just a reaction when a portal vein is either leaking or burst open. The portal veins send off a signal that let the body know that this vein is no longer operational. So the body directs blood flow around the leakage or the spill and allows the blood to still get where it needs to go. That way, you don't just, if a smaller vein bursts, you don't just bleed out. However, if the vein is too large, if it's one of the major branches of vein, specifically the ones that are about as big as the aorta, then you probably will not recover from that, unfortunately, because they just supply too much blood. Alright, and that is our presentation.
Okay, so I am just going to be explaining to you the functions of the accessory organ. So this is just going to be me talking. So first we have the common hepatic duct, and its function is to drain bile from the liver, and it is a very important part of the biliary duct system. And then next we have type 1 diabetes, and that affects your pancreas, and that's where your pancreas doesn't make enough insulin, or if any at all, and insulin helps our body use sugar for energy. And so, I'm sure everybody knows at least one person with type 1 diabetes, and if you don't take your insulin or eat right or manage it, then it can be pretty rough. And then amylase, this is an enzyme that helps our body regulate digest carbohydrates, and most of it in our body is made by our pancreas or salivary glands. The superior mesenteric artery, and this provides oxygenated blood and nutrients to the intestines. These organs are a part of the digestive system, and the artery branches off from the aorta, which is, as you know, the body's largest blood vessel. Then we have the urethra. This is the tube where urine leaves the body, and its function is to empty urine from the bladder. The renal medulla, this is to regulate concentration of the urine, and the urine flows from the ducts into the renal calyces and pelvis, and this undergoes unidirectional peristaltic movements to allow drainage of the urine into the downstream ureter and bladder. The renal vein, this carries filtered blood from the kidneys to the posterior vena cava. The adrenal medulla, this controls hormones that initiate fight or flight mode. The main hormones secreted by the adrenal medulla include epinephrine, which is your adrenaline, and then norepinephrine, and that's where non-adrenaline, which have similar functions. And then we have epinephrine. This is the hormone that is secreted mainly by the medulla of the adrenal glands, and that functions primarily to increase cardiac output and to raise glucose levels. So, whenever you get anything that can, rise your adrenaline, jumping off of a bluff, into the water, just doing anything that gets your adrenaline going, that's your epinephrine. And then portal systemic
anastomosis. That was our mystery term. And this is to provide alternative routes of circulation when there is a blockage in the liver or portal vein. So, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to be doing the 3D anatomy part of our presentation. I will be showing the different areas and how they kind of relate. So we're going to start with the common hepatic duct. It is highlighted here in purple. And it's where the left and right hepatic ducts join, and they carry the bile from the left and right liver. So let's look at hepatic portal veins now. You can see it right there. It is where the superior mesenteric vein and the splenic vein conjoin, or where they form a union. All right, so next is going to be the pancreas here. All right, so type 1 diabetes and amylase. So type 1 diabetes is where pancreas makes little to no insulin. And amylase is a pancreatic fluid, converts starch and glycogen into simple sugars. And sometimes you can find out somebody has type 1 diabetes through lower amylase levels. Let's see. Next is the spleen, or more exactly, the superior mesenteric artery. There we go. All right. See that there. All right. The urethra, a little different for males and females, so we'll look at female first. You can see the urethra out there for the female. There we go. There's the male urethra. All right. So I'm going to show you the kidneys. First. So we all know kind of what the kidney looks like. And then the renal vein. Here we can see the renal vein. And then we're going to do the renal medulla. So this might take a second to load. It did earlier. Oh, or it loads immediately. Cool. So this is inside of the kidneys itself, the renal medulla. And you have the inner zone and outer zone, and then here's a more in-depth look of it. And then we have the adrenal glands. And here, down here, where is it? Yep, is the medulla of the adrenal gland, or the suprarenal gland. And this is where epinephrine is produced. Let's see if I can get, there we go, the adrenal gland. shown there. All right, thank you.